Welcome back to another episode of Property Auction Hunters. Today we are joined by Charlie and Rod, special guests. Thanks for coming, guys. And today we're talking about development opportunities that are going into auction. So, Piotr, tell us a bit about them.
Yeah, brilliant. So the is a mixed-use property in Morden, Surrey, 50 and 58 Central Road, guided at 650 plus, and it's an end-of-terrace building currently, arranged as a ground floor takeaway shop, 3-bedroom ground floor flat, first and second floor split level flat. No, sorry, it's a 3-bedroom ground, first and second floor split level flat, and a real workshop. So basically there's one flat, one takeaway, and a real workshop. But there's planning for conversion of that real workshop into 1-bedroom house and 3 self-contained flats.
A lot going on there. Okay.
A lot going on there.
What lot
Will it continue to keep the commercial element, or?
So, yeah, the commercial element stays. There's a very nice, beautiful CGI that shows the potential. And actually, the property will have the hip to gable conversion, and the 3-bedroom flat basically will become 3 flats, 2 1-bed, 1 2-bed, and there will be a 1-bedroom house at the back, and there will be still that takeaway shop. Takeaway shop is let on a 15-year lease from March 2018 for 13,800 per annum.
And are we assuming that they've paid and
Yeah,
rent
yeah.
and all that? Yeah. Okay.
I guess takeaway shops always pay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. And then the workshop area is leased on a 5-year license from December 2021
Yeah.
for 7,800. So in reality, you're not going to be able to develop that out until 2026. The workshop at the rear.
Well, if it's on a license,
license,
you might be okay.
And actually, sometimes it works well to have that delay while you kind of get everything planned out.
Go on.
So that's basically the whole thing. There'll be 3 flats, 1 house.
Do we know what
and
size it's going from and to in terms of the residential elements?
So we know it's we don't have the details.
No. Okay.
But
But
it's
you
a
can
big
assume because
3-bedroom
it's
flat.
it's PD, isn't it?
It's
So
PD.
it will be minimum space standards
it's
and all
full-
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
I think it's full planning.
Oh,
that
is it?
one,
Okay.
isn't
Full
it?
planning,
It's full planning.
subject to a section 106 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I quite liked the look of this when I first had a look at it, and what I liked is that it's immediately income producing, so that you've got income whilst you plan the build, but there's just a lot of questions, and on the CGI you've got one of the units that takes up half of the front, so they've crammed the takeaway into one tiny area, and one of the flats is extremely poorly presented if it's going to be half of that. So I think obviously you're developing because you're developing something that's better, and when I started to look at this, I didn't see, yes, they've got the planning, but are you really going to get the money for such poorly executed space? Very, very little light, views onto the front, it breaks the parade. You also can't develop it because you've got that lease at the front, and then you've got a reasonably good commercial unit at the front currently. However, if you halve that, what are you going to do with that?
Yeah,
so
and it's very strange because would you be able to have it if there's a lease on it? Like, would you be able to develop it at all?
You can't do it. So you are tied up. So the little house I think that's got some value in it for sure, because obviously it's a high value area, but. For me, I looked at it and thought you've gone about that there's some development opportunity there, but you've gone about it in a really odd way. Why you just didn't do a PD on the loft and just extend what's there and keep the front commercial unit. So I think by the time you've got the build costs of delivering that planning, it isn't nearly as attractive as it looks on the face of it. That was my initial thoughts.
I don't think it's just the build costs. I think it's You got sill in London.
Yeah,
You got,
which you don't know what it is.
Well, until you find out what the
Exactly.
values are. I think PD on a commercial. I'm not sure you would have got away with PD because I think it's technically a flat, isn't it, above a commercial? So I don't know if that would have been allowed. But are there conditions to discharge beforehand? Then it's getting all the technical drawings done. So it's bloody expensive to build stuff out at the moment. And I don't think this will sell. I think people will look at it and
Straight
do
in
the
early on.
numbers. Yeah.
I think we're all sharing the same opinion. I think it's poorly priced.
Yeah,
Poorly designed.
Poorly designed, poorly priced.
I think someone's actually trying to just get rid of this, but trying to maximise it. So they've done the typical stuff, CGI, rammed as many units in there as possible without actually thinking about the development process or actually the design element at all. Obviously, at the end of the day, it sits on a high street, and the reality is, even if you build out at the back of it, it's not going to have the same value for something that sits down a quiet, nice residential street at the end of the day. So I think...
And in terms of the refinance, you're above a fast food outlet. You're not
most likely someone's going to buy this and hold the whole thing.
Yeah.
Most likely that's what you're going to get. I doubt someone's going to buy it to develop to then title split and sell. And if they do, they'd have to factor in a 10-15% lower NGDV on that basis.
But I think that's a really good point, what you said about the refinance, because even if you're refinancing the whole thing as one, you've got to look at the rates that you're likely to be getting, and versus the yield in that area, it's going to be very tight. And that's why it goes back to the price. I don't think it's priced right when you factor in all the professional fees you're going to have to pay to even start the build, and including the sill, any section 106 and what have you, technical drawings, anything related to that. And then you've got to iron out these issues about the lease if you're taking part of that takeaway. I haven't read the legal pack, so I don't know if there's something in there giving permission. Similar on the licence at the back. So is it planning in name only, and actually is it just not relevant because you can't carry half of it out?
What's thrown me is that it looks like a trader lot. It's quite an early lot. It's to lot 27. They've done everything that a trader should do, but the price is not priced in like a trader would normally price it, and that's the only thing that's thrown me here.
A trader would have stuck that in on a 10% yield to make it look unbelievable. Like Morden, Surrey is a really nice area. Stick that in on a 10% yield. People would have gone a little bit blind to the how many units you're trying to shove in there, the practicalities of shortening an FRI commercial building that's still got 10 plus years to run on it. These things they stack up as problems over and over.
I think there's opportunities for it. I think this would do really well with a social housing provider. I don't know what size the flats are, but
It's probably going to be 50 square meters, one bed.
Yeah, but if they're all one beds, you're gonna get a lot of demand for that around there. If you've got a one bed house, I'm guessing it's all on one floor, you're going to have a lot of demand for that as well. So I think there's some opportunities to think a little bit outside the box of who your tenant sort of profile is. But everything has a price, doesn't it? And it's just going to be...
I think they tried to do what you guys did with the workshops, but they failed. So they need to go on the Turner, Ruseneck and Howard
well, I mean,
if
you think about the split of the asset, you've got the commercial on the ground floor, then you've got the 3-bedroom multi-story flat. But then you have this workshop at the back, which would have just been perfect to PD or prior approval, whatever you can, to just do a conversion of that. And then maybe have done like a secondary application for additional light wells or an extension or whatever. Because that probably would have got far more value than taking the 3-bed flat now, cutting it up into pieces, poorly structuring it within the existing building, and then trying to build a house out of it.
I think if I was going to look at this properly to buy, the first thing I've got to work out is the takeaway. So either the legal pack will tell me about whether they've given permission, or I'm going to go and speak to them. I'm going to knock on the door and say, listen, I'm looking at buying that's... are you happy to do this? And if we buy it, and if they say no, how much money is it going to take for me to convince you otherwise? Are there any break clauses in that lease? Because I don't think it says whether or not there are, so we want to have a good look at the lease. Good look at the license for the workshop in terms of what can be done about that. Again, is it a case of just knocking on the door and having a chat with them if it doesn't say that? And then it's what's the sill going to be if we do create that, and you'll be able to find that out by just looking at the drawings on the planning department, or it should have a sill notice on there anyway. Should have details of the section 106 if it's got any at all, and just because it says it might be nil. So it's just, again, looking at that. And then I think it's just looking at, but this might be quite a good one to look at and keep an eye on, because I think lots of people will look at it and go, oh, no, it's not priced right. But actually, it might be the case that it needs to be sold. And so there's a deal to be done. So, yeah, I think if you can do your homework on those things, there's potential for it.
Today's video is sponsored by Roma Finance, and if you are buying a property at auction and you wonder how you can do it in 28 days, a bridging lender is what you need, and Roma Finance are that bridging lender for you. They have a patented streamlined process for applications to get the funding you need in the timescales that you need it. So make sure you click on the link below and check them out. They're great guys, and we hope to be working with them again very soon.
Yeah. I think this is one of those ones where someone genuinely needs to sell it for within 10%, and that's why they've priced it in that way. Maybe they owe a certain amount on it, maybe they bought it, whatever it is, but this is priced to sell within that 10%. And I actually think this will end up scraping by on reserve. Ooh. I actually think this might scrape a 710, 705. So, yeah, that's where I'm at with it.
You got out of bed on the right side of the bed this morning.
I think this will scrape, but I've seen a few of these kind of ones where I think this is way overpriced, and it just scrapes one bid, and all you need is one bidder that is willing to pay close to reserve. The auctioneer will bring them to that level. So, what do you think?
I think if you look at the GDV, probably one bed's going to be like, what, 275?
No, I think with those one beds will be really poor.
Yeah,
so
I don't think they will
So
be.
I don't think they would be. So a really lovely one bed, 275, 300, but I think you'll probably
and also
low 200s for the way that they're.
So let's say 225, 450 for one bed, 275 for the two beds. So what's that? 725, and we have a house.
I think the worst shot will be a bit more.
350?
Yeah, maybe 325, something like that, 350.
Okay.
Depends how it's done.
The values in the values
So-
in the house.
I think that house
Yeah.
is 400 done up.
Yeah,
most likely.
that's
Okay.
That's
So
what I thought.
nearly at 1.1 million. And then
There'll be
there's
a
a
value on the
takeaway.
takeaway, yeah.
So there will be like, what, 150 in a takeaway?
Maybe.
So 1.25 million for everything, and 700 reserve, more or less. So there's 500k of difference there. I don't think you can build it out for this amount of money.
If you've got a builder there,
It's the perception, though.
if
isn't
you've
it?
got a builder there, they might be able to do it for 250, like all in, with making no markup, and that's where you've got a firm that might just need to buy in some work.
This is where you get all the quirky social housing guys, these guys that come in that are not your typical type of people that we think of when we're looking at a lot like this.
Yeah, because I looked at that and I thought, okay, if you could unpick the planning and go back and just go, okay, the house, brilliant, you do that, but just look at it again. I'd absolutely keep the commercial across the front and just rethink the planning and see. You would definitely be able to improve on that planning and make it better.
The problem is the cost of the planning to go back in, and then you've got to get all the professionals in to do it all again. It's just so costly, and so I'm not sure it's worthwhile.
And the time.
Yeah.
And the time, but I think as it stands at the moment.
What do you think will sell for, Charlie? Just to be clear, not what you pay for it.
Yeah, this is the problem, isn't it?
This is the trickier part of this whole thing.
It's the tricky part. Yeah. What would I pay
Piot's
for
really
it?
good at this.
I wouldn't
He's
buy
like,
it. What do I think it'll sell for? Well, the thing is, it's one of those lots that maybe there's a local builder that has got the team in place, and it's cheap, and they can do it, and they'll sit on it. So maybe it'll get guide. It'll go for guide.
I don't think it's going to sell.
You don't think it's going to sell?
I think withdrawn as well.
Okay.
Withdrawn.
Cool. Tell us what you guys think in the comments below. Do you think this will sell? Is this something that you've come across and you've looked at as well? So it'll be interesting to hear from other people. And I'm sure we're going to find a story from someone in the comments about this one.
Yeah.
Right.
Brilliant.
Okay guys, so welcome to the results section of this video, and as you can see, this property was withdrawn. So most of us were actually saying this is going to get withdrawn, and it was. what's the reason for something to get withdrawn? Most likely this would be because of the lack of registered bidders. I think this property would have actually attracted people who are looking to potentially buy something like this. However, when someone would dig deeper into the planning and the potential issues of implementation, the commercial lease, and all the costs involved with development of this property, they would have probably kind of failed to register to bid, or they wouldn't have seen as much value as they needed to see to register to bid. So just because something got withdrawn doesn't mean it isn't still available. There's a potential to still do the deal, and someone would need to contact the auction house and actually have a conversation with them about what's possible, or just make an offer with the terms that work for you and then see what's going to happen. So this property withdrawn, it might be offered in the auction again in the future, and at possibly a reduced price. And what I like about properties like this is, even though it had issues, the most important thing is it had income coming in. And when you have income coming in and the property is paying for itself, it doesn't force you to sell it. And when you're not forced to sell something, you can have the time to sort out the issues, to sort out the things that need to be sorted out. And that's the real beauty about buying income producing properties with potential. So if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, make comments about what you found valuable about this video, what you liked about this property. Maybe you're looking to buy this. Give us some comments, give us some feedback about how you're finding our videos, so that we can produce more of content like this. And thank you for watching this. See you guys in the next episode.